Hello. And series that I'm going to, what am I going to call it? Hey, welcome back. Today's going to be fun. Hey, today is the very first episode of a series that I'm super excited about, that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I'm glad that it's finally coming together. And I'd like to share it with you. I'm going to call this series Magical Movie Moments, Decades of Duds, and we're going to start in the 1940s. In my mind, and I'm not sure how to explain this, but what I would like to do is see if I can utilize the wardrobe that I already have to create some decades of looks from the 1940s through, I believe I'm going to do the 2000s is the most modern that I will do. We'll do, a decade at a time. And it would be fun and enriching to me to also make something each time. For this episode of the 1940s, you're going to see the process of me putting together this jacket. It is a peplum jacket, very popular in the 40s. Of course, I used materials that I had here. I had this material that I had planned on using for a different project, but when this idea popped in my head and I couldn't stop thinking about it, I just obsessed over starting this series. I thought that this would be one of the best fabrics to use. I'm gonna do a couple of disclaimers. The first one is I'm not incredibly serious about being historically accurate with the things that I make, because I'd like to be able to use them. So if the fabrics didn't exist or if the patterns weren't something that was used, fine. I know, but I do want to be able to actually wear these items, and I also kind of want to use the things that I have. I don't want to have to go out to the fabric store and purchase fabric if I can find it either via the thrift store or something that I already have in my stash. What I'm going to do is invite you into my process of me making this jacket, and I'm also going to talk about some of my favorite film fashions from the 1940s. Each decade, I would like to throw this little disclaimer in here, so I'm going to do it now. The purpose of these videos is to celebrate costumery depicted in film. I do not plan to discuss the plots, nor do I claim to agree with many of the themes represented therein. To be honest, I haven't even seen all of these films. I really don't have that kind of time. Racism, misogyny, cultural appropriation, offensive stereotypes, traditional gender personas, and in some cases just out and out stupidity are possible in any of these films. I just felt that it would be amiss for me not to mention that. I don't intend to spoil anything, but with me, anything is possible, so I'd like to go ahead and just lay down a blanket spoiler alert right now. I love you guys so much. Let's get to it. Okay, here is my pattern. We're going to be doing C out of this fabric. I don't remember what kind of fabric it is. I bought it about 2 years ago, intending to make a dress out of it, but haven't. Here's the lining that went with it. Some interfacing. And I'm starting with cutting it out. Got a few pieces cut out. And then we'll pin it down and get the fabric cut out, attach the interfacing, and move on from there. Let's go. How I'd like to frame these videos is to start by talking about some main fashion points of each era, followed by a list of fashion icons from the golden age of Hollywood, then moving into specific movies and movie looks that just fill my heart with joy. So we're starting off with the 1940s. What was happening in the 1940s? Well, World War II. The main fashion points is going to kind of revolve around that. There is a professor out there, and I want to say a professor on the internet, but she's not just on the internet, she's an actual professor, Amanda Haley, and she says that fashion is not an island, it is a response. And I will probably say that a lot because it's true. In the 1940s, the war had a lot of impact on fashion. This was the era of kind of strong, broad shoulders and curvy legs. You gotta think of the main fashion ideal of being either that kind of idea of Rosie the Riveter or pinups. This was an era of utility clothing. There were so many roles on clothes, like how much fabric you can use, how many buttons you could have, and so forth. There was a lot of women in the military, so there's uniforms and working wear for the women who were jumping in and picking up the jobs that the men would have done if they weren't off to war. Skirts got a little bit shorter to save fabric, shoulder pads to broaden the shoulders, but also kind of a feminine era with that cinched in waist. There was a lot of ruching, there was a lot of peplums, and hats. Everybody wore hats. Hollywood was playing by a different set of rules though. It was by entertainment that the everyday people kind of escaped into this fashionable world, and that's what makes movie fashion a bit more magical and wondrous. It's not going to always reflect street fashion of the day. It is going to be a little bit more over the top, and that's why we love it so much. We can't talk about fashion without talking about our style icons, and these women were rocking it in pantsuits and cinched waist dresses, feminine and androgynous. These girls have it all. We have Lana Turner, Rita Hayworth, Lauren Bacall, Carmen Miranda, Katherine Hepburn, gorgeous Barbara Stanwyck, her glorious tights, Ethel Waters, Lena Horne, and Miss Thing, Anna May Wong, one of the most beautiful women in all of cinema. These women had it going on, and they knew it, and they were killing it out there on the silver screen. We're gonna kick the movies off with the 1946 classic Gilda, directed by Charles Bitter and starring Rita Hayworth. The costume designer was a French costume designer named Jean-Louis, and he created some incredible looks, like this floor-length jacket and tailored pantsuit, which is to die for, super buttery, super creamy. This beautiful dress that sparkled and shimmered and had this wonderful pleated panel at the bottom.
Got a light?
Yes, Mrs. Matson. It is so crowded and yet so lonely, isn't it?
How did you know?
You smoke too much. I've noticed.
No, I was just tossing away my frustration.
And it landed right on me.
I love when we find colorized pictures from the black and white days. I love seeing what the actual colors are. This beautiful dress, believe it or not, was affixed to the side of the bomb that was used in the Able test during the war. And I just think that's incredibly crazy. But she was incredibly beautiful, and I'm not surprised that our military men were just completely agog with her. This is one of the movies that I have not personally seen, but would really like to. Up next is The Philadelphia Story from 1940, directed by George Kucar, starring Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, and Katherine Hepburn. Our costume designer here is an American designer named Adrian, and he had put together some spectacular looks for this movie, like this one and this one, and most definitely this one, which I did actually find a color image of, and it is gorgeous in this kind of light blush and gold accents. We can't forget about the men. Cary Grant looking amazing in this collarless Nehru jacket, and Jimmy Stewart in these wonderful pinstripe suits. This movie was great fun. I would suggest watching this one. Next up, we have a movie from 1941 called The Lady Eve, directed by Preston Sturgis, starring Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda. The costume designer here is an American costume designer named Edith Head, and in my opinion, one of the most influential and brilliant designers of this era, or potentially any era. Why? Well, because she made everybody look amazing. She designed for the body that would be in the clothes, not the other way around. So whether it was casual or luxury, the actresses always look stunning. Edith Head had one of the most brilliant eyes for fashion and form. Whether it be tailored pantsuits or amazing dresses, this woman knew how to design for the actresses or actors that she was working with and have the costumes fit their bodies in particular. And aside from that, she just knew how to make a beautiful costume, like this lace and beaded evening gown that just sparkled and shined and made Barbara Stanwyck look like an ultimate princess. I haven't seen this movie, but it's on my list and I can't wait to see it. I bet it's amazing. Next up, we have Cabin in the Sky from 1943. There were two directors on this one, Vincent Minnelli and Busby Berkeley, and it's starring the amazing Ethel Waters, Lena Horne, and Eddie Anderson. The costume design is by Irene Maud Lentz. Lena Horne looks stunning in this two-piece, looking cute as ever. They did some amazing costuming in this movie. I love this image. I have no idea whether or not these colors are accurate, but if this guy is not wearing this blush pink suit, I will just die. It needs to be in this color.
It seems like happiness is just a thing called joy. She got a smile that makes a lilac wanna grow.
The main point is you paying for them.
Of course I'll pay for them. I didn't realize.
And that ain't all I'm collecting before I'm through.
Don't talk like that, Petunia. You know I still love you.
Now you just be a little more careful what you say to your whites in front of me.
I couldn't find a ton of footage from this musical, but I did find this incredible clip showing the way that these dresses sparkle and shine and move, and that feather boa is, can't wait to see that musical. Okay, now our next movie is actually from 1939, but I figured it was close enough. It's King of Chinatown, directed by Nick Grimes, starring Anna May Wong and Philip Ahn. The costume design here again is by Edith Head. I had difficulty finding some good screenshots of these. Here's one that kind of shows a little bit more of the beautiful detail of Edith Head's work. I did my very best to enhance what I did find so we could see a little bit more detail. But since we couldn't find much, I'd like you just to sit back and enjoy a few photos that I have of Anna May Wong. You are welcome. Next up is Holiday Inn from 1942, directed by Mark Sandrich, and starring Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire, Marjorie Reynolds, and Virginia Dale, and our costume designer is Edith Head. Yep, again, here she is, letting you know that she is an absolute freaking legend. Take a look at this sheer look dress. Not only is it gorge in these stills, but it is designed to move and flow, and wouldn't you just die to twirl around in this dress? Let's take a look at a few more from the amazing brain of Edith Head. The guys look stunning. The girls look stunning. Did she knock it out of the park with this one? Hey, taking a poll here. Which one of these pictures has the correct coloring? Everybody else looks, we got that, right? Black tuxes, a black and white dress, but is she in blue or is she in pink? I have no idea. If anybody out there knows, please let me know. Now off to a movie that I really want to see. It's in my list. I can't wait until I can find it to see it, but it's Now Voyager. It was directed by Irving Rapar and starred Bette Davis, Paul Henreid, and Claude Rains. Costume designs by Ori Kelly. Bette Davis, she had input to kind of matronize her look and look as old as possible so we could get this incredible shot of her reveal into a sophisticated new style and a whole new Charlotte. Ori Kelly had some bangers in this movie. Every outfit that Charlotte or Bette Davis is in post her psychiatric treatment is just on point. She looks gorgeous. Wouldn't you just feel like a savage bitch in this outfit? Bring it. I need it. I need it. Love the hat. Look at this caped jacket and this amazing embroidery. It's a nod to Elsa Schiaparelli's popular embroidered designs. It's so beautiful. Give it. On to The Aviator. This movie was released in 2004, but it was based primarily in the 1940s. It was directed by Martin Scorsese, and the costume design was by Sandy Powell. We're going to start out with maybe a little early with Gwen Stefani's Jean Harlow look. I believe this was late 30s, but this dress is so freaking gorgeous with the fur. I mean, ugh. I want to talk a little bit about Cate Blanchett's Audrey Hepburn looks. I mean, Audrey was rich. She was a superstar at this point, and the textures and outfits were rich as well in this movie. You need to check them out. Everybody at this table looks gorgeous, but especially Kate Beckinsale, who is playing Ava Gardner in that black velvet ensemble. We have her in a green kind of ruched dress. This other ensemble I found with the gold embellishments around the waist was just... We can't forget about the men of The Aviator, in particular Leonardo DiCaprio, who looked stunning in every Sandy Powell look that they had in this film. Our last movie before we get to our honorable mention is going to be Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This movie was released in 1988, but it was based in 1947. Our director was Robert Zemeckis, and this movie starred a ton of people, but the main stars would have been Bob Hoskins and Christopher Lloyd. Roger Rabbit was voiced by Charles Fleischer, and Jessica Rabbit voiced by the amazing Kathleen Turner. Let's start with Greasy the Weasel. Now, all the weasels were a little bit of their own flair, but Greasy is in a very 40s zoot suit. And if you've ever heard the song Zoot Suit Riot and didn't realize that it was a real thing, well, it was a real thing. And I suggest looking it up if you want a really interesting story. She got her hat, she got her blue blouse, and her high-waisted shorts, and she looked absolutely stunning in this. I love this outfit. We can't get away without talking about Joanne Cassidy's Dolores. She had some truly stunning outfits. How many times can I say stunning? From the mind of Joanna Johnson. And of course, the ultimate starlet, the ultimate sultry seductress, Jessica Rabbit, in her gorgeous, fully sequined red dress and long purple gloves. I'm throwing this last one in here as an honorable mention because the movie is actually set in 1922, but I feel like the costume design is kind of distinctly 1940s. I thought this movie was based in 1940s, but it's not. But we're going to look at Greenwich Village. It was released in 1944, directed by Walter Lang, and starring pretty much Carmen Miranda. And that's why I wanted to include it, because she was a huge star in the 40s, and her looks and her performance looks really influenced some of this good neighbor policy, fashion inspired flowers and tropical looks that you saw a lot in streetwear of the 1940s. Let's just sit back and enjoy some footage that I found of some of the amazing performance outfits from this movie. I did watch this movie. I thought it was weird. It wasn't the best movie I'd ever seen, but it was a musical. It was entertaining. The plot was a little but it was fun to see all of these outfits in action. I put together 2 looks for my own closet for this. Best that I could do. I have this long white sheath dress and over jacket with this incredible gold and white embroidery on the front. I got this from the thrift store for $24. I got it mainly for the jacket. I just fell in love with it. She's so gorgeous. This is my Hollywood starlet stance. And now for the reveal of the jacket that I made. I just paired it with a dress that I had that had a pencil-esque type skirt, and I think that it turned out really good. There were a few things that went wrong, one of them being the buttons. That one button in the middle, I know you can't tell, but it is a fake button. I didn't measure it properly, and those 2 buttons in the middle were a little far apart, so I just kind of sewed one on top in the middle to kind of give it a nicer, clean look. But ultimately, I love it. I've worn it several times. It's super cute. It's super comfortable, and I'm really proud of myself. What do you guys think? I hope you really liked the video. I really had a ton of fun making it. It's exhausting and a lot more work than I thought it would be, but it was great fun. I am so glad that you came along to share this with me. For the next one, we'll do the 1950s. And I will see you there. Bye.